Hi, my name is Jason Weber. I'm president and CEO of Alianza Minerals. Alianza is a junior explorer focused on precious metals, both in the Yukon in Canada and Southwest United States. We also have some copper projects in Colorado. Our business model revolves largely around the joint venture approach, but we do have a flagship project that we like to run with ourselves that we call the Haldane project in the Keno Hill district of the Yukon Territory.
Fantastic. Nice to meet you, Jason. We're going to dive into a lot of that, but given this is the first time we've met or spoken, why don't we kick off and try and understand a little bit about your experience, your background, relevant to what you're trying to do today?
Yeah, so I'm a geologist. I have a geology degree from the University of British Columbia. I've practiced most of my career in Western North America. I've done a little bit in the East, also in South America, but it's largely been early stage exploration. So that's really where I enjoy doing most of my work, and so that's sort of why Alianza is really focusing on early stage exploration projects that we're trying to bring to the table, bring partners in to fund, largely at the drilling stage, to make discoveries. And the idea for us is that if we can put as many discovery opportunities in front of our shareholders, that's going to be better for them. So. That background in early stage exploration has really helped because we try to define early stage projects that we can bring to the table. They're inexpensive, and we can do use our expertise, do some of that early stage work to bring them along. So a lot of my work's been focused in British Columbia and the Yukon. I've worked for juniors, for major companies, but mixed in with all of that, I have done some more advanced stage work, sort of PEA level projects. And I think that really gives sort of an idea of what these projects are going to look like if you do find something. So it gives a great perspective on what kind of targets we want to be looking for. And when we're exploring those, what do we want to see from those targets? And I think that's a real advantage for Alianza as we go forward.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do for myself and for the people watching this is understand what type of business are you. You said you're early stage exploration, but it almost feels a little bit prospect generator. Exploration with a view to using someone else's balance sheet through a JV of advancing those projects on. Is that fair to say that? It
is fair to say that. And that is certainly the roots of the company. We started out as basically purely a prospect generator. But as we always had an eye to, if there was a project there that we really liked, we would spend our own money on it. And part of that is there is a certain amount of control that you can bring to the table when you're funding exploration. But it's also when we find something we really like, we want to have the maximum leverage to it. So we do operate sort of in a hybrid prospect generator mold right now, where we have our Haldane project that we fund 100%. But then we have a portfolio of projects that we are bringing in partners to fund exploration on. And we've got 3 of those underway right now with partners.
Right, okay, because I think this is really important to understand, because I think for investors, they like to know what they're walking into, what they're getting to bed with, and where the success is coming from, right? So $10 million market cap company. I mean, how long has this company been around in this version of it? This incarnation?
In this incarnation, been around since 2015. Yeah, we merged 2 companies together when we thought the market was getting better.
Right. How's that for timing? Well, I think that answers my next question is, okay, what happened, right? So 2015, a little bit difficult, not a lot of money around. But, since then, you're still, you're a 10 million market cap company now. It's like, how do you kind of get out of that rut, as it were? What is going to be the best model for you guys? How are you going to raise money more cheaply kind of going forward? So what are the successes that you can point to there which lead you to believe that the current model is the best model for you guys?
Well, I think it's the exposure to drilling, because that's really where discoveries are made. And that's, you look at any of the companies that have been successful over the last number of years, it's been on discovery. So that's really the focus for us, is getting discoveries in front of our shareholders so that we can see that uptick in share price. We're raising money at cheaper prices, but we are exposing them to that potential that 10 million market cap becomes much, much higher based on discovery. So that's really what it's about. So for us, for example, this year, we have partners funding 3 different drill programs if everything works out well. So that for us is 3 opportunities for discovery. it's also generating news, interest in the company, and hopefully that helps raise the share price just on its own.
Right.
And if we do that in a good metals market, it's even better.
Absolutely. So give me those three, and give me the structure of the deal, i.e., why your shareholders benefit from that. So if you don't mind, just run through all three and the structure.
Yeah, the first one is a joint venture with Coeur Mining. It's on our Tim project in the southern Yukon. It's about 19 kilometers north of their Silvertip mine. Coeur's been the mine's been in not really care and maintenance. They're working on their mill right now, but while they've been doing that, they've been doing a bunch of exploration on their deposit. Very successful. And now they're looking outside of that. We're in the same rocks that host the Silvertip deposit. So Coeur's at Tim done some first stage work last year to find drill programs or drill targets for a program this summer. So that deal is they're spending about $3.5 million over 5 years to explore that project. That'll give them an 80% interest if they get that project to a feasibility by year 8. And so the beauty there is there's cash payments with that as well, $575,000 in cash over 5 years. And if they find something here, this is a very quick startup. It's trucking ore to their existing facilities. We're not building really mine infrastructure here. So that's kind of a neat one for us.
That's nice. So you get your 20% free carry right the way through to feasibility study.
Yep.
Delivery of feasibility, at which point I guess there's some decisions to be made as to, you'll have so the Coeur Mining, right? Okay, so big, nice balance sheet. How early in the process is that? When did that start? Last year?
Last year was their first year of work on the project.
And they spent how much of the $3.5 million last year?
They've spent about, I'm going to guess, $350,000. I don't have the exact number from them, but just that's kind of the ballpark number they've spent this year.
Right. And
last year, sorry.
And have they outlined what they're going to spend this year on it?
They have not, but they will. We'll have that very shortly.
Okay.
We expect to meet with them here in the next little while, and they'll lay out this year's program and how many holes, all that kind of stuff.
But there will be a program this year, I guess is where I'm heading to. There will be.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So they'll let us know what that number. That's a good one with a good company, very clear. And you're getting these sort of equitable cash payments each year for the next 5 years. Are you that 575K?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, that's nice. Something to the bottom line. What's the second project?
So the the next two are related. They're in southwest Colorado. They're actually copper projects. We got involved with a company called Cloudbreak Discovery in, it was about this time last year, I guess. We were actually working on gold projects in southwest Colorado. And in the same rocks that were hosting these gold targets we were looking at, there was copper occurrences. And so we started to, we knew we couldn't run with this ourselves. So we brought in the Cloudbreak team, guys that we'd known and worked with in the past, and said, hey, we've got some neat opportunities. We don't have the intellectual capital to move these things along right now. We're just too busy with our own stuff. You guys want to work with us? So we've split these projects 50-50, and together we've brought in a third company called Allied Copper, who is going to move these projects forward. So the deal with Allied is on two projects. One is called Klondike. And on that project, Allied has agreed to spend $4.75 million in exploration.
Over what period?
It's over 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
And they'll also make cash payments totaling $400,000
over 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they will issue a total of 7 million shares. That all those payments are split between us and Cloudbreak 50-50. Mm-hmm. And then after the third anniversary of the option, they also will be issuing 3 million warrants on a price based on a 20-day VWAP, and that will give them 100% interest in that Klondike project. So we become a significant shareholder of Allied through this project process.
Okay, so there's no financial burden on you whatsoever. You set it up that you got cash coming in, you're going to get shares and potentially warrants at some point further down the line.
And we're the operator, so we control the exploration project process. They obviously have input into how many holes, where we're drilling. It's really a collaborative effort, but because Alianza is the operator, we are able to recover some costs through that as well.
So you charge them a management fee for that component?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. What's that look like?
Right now, it's because we're just in the permitting phase, so we've just been charging out a daily rate for our team members who have been working on the project. That's probably the way we'll keep it, just to try to keep costs down for Allied, to get as much drilling done as we can. So it's just been a charge out rate on internal Alianza time.
Okay, so that's on a cost plus basis for now. Okay, no problem. And what's the sort of the third project that you're doing with? Oh, sorry, the second project you're doing with Klondike, but the third project?
Yeah, it's called Stateline. It's again in the same rocks. It's really interesting in that it's about 8 kilometers on trend with an operating open pit copper mine called Lisbon Valley. We call the project Stateline because it sits right on the state boundary between Utah and Colorado. So on the Utah side, we have the Lisbon Valley mine, and then basically their ground, their land package comes almost to the state line. That's where our claims start, and we're exploring the same rocks that they're mining copper from at Lisbon Valley. So that deal is similar structure to the Klondike deal. Allied can earn over 4 years by spending $3.75 million in exploration. They issue us $4.25 million in shares and pay $315,000 in cash. All over 4 years, just like with Klondike.
Okay. So what's the cash amount? Sorry, 15 what?
$315,000.
Oh, $315,000. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Did you say warrants? No warrants with this one? There
are. If we acquire ground within an area of interest that we've defined with them, there are warrants that are issued on a sliding scale of based on how many claims are acquired. So if we acquire a very large land package, there's more warrants that are added on. So we call that the Stateline reconnaissance. It's kind of a bolt on to the Stateline itself, but it's all included in the same agreement.
Right. Okay. And so obviously this, I mean, apart from the management fee, sorry, are you doing the drilling on Stateline as well? Did you say?
Yeah, same cost plus structure. Yeah.
Got it.
And both those projects, we aim to be drilling this summer. We're in process of getting drill permits for both of those right now.
Right. Okay. And obviously they're allocating a bit of money for this, but are we talking like single? Are these the first holes that will be going in on either of those properties?
The first modern, quote unquote modern holes. The last round of work that's been done on these was really back in the 80s. The drilling on any of these was probably done much earlier than that. So what's interesting about this stuff, they weren't looking for copper when they explored these. They were actually looking for uranium. So we looked at the old uranium files, and where we saw copper, we said, okay, we're going to go check those out. And surprisingly, where copper was just a mention in the file, it was actually a very significant component of the mineralization there. But because they weren't interested, it didn't get they didn't pay attention to it. So that's why these projects are still sitting there.
Thus it always is. That's hilarious. Okay, so presumably so using these old files as a means of targeting, have you done any sort of electromag stuff yourself, or what so have they done any other or intended any other work in terms of making sure that the targeting is honed in? Yeah,
so there's kind of been a first pass reconnaissance done through some of the more obvious targets. At something like Klondike, we are just finishing up a mag survey there. That should be done in the next week or so. I'm guessing. It's weather dependent. At Stateline and Klondike, we're going to do some remote sensing as soon as the snow cover's gone, and we can get some good cloud-free days where we'll be doing a satellite survey looking at just trying to identify maybe some potential alteration signatures that we might be able to follow up on, plus other clues that we can gain from the satellite imagery. And then that will really, the targets that we have on surface are kind of obvious. So we can use that information, but we kind of know where we're going to be drilling holes already. It's there's some nice exposures of copper mineralization on surface that we're pretty eager to test. And because we have the operating mine at Lisbon, and both the geos working for us worked at that mine. One was actually the VP exploration back in the day when the mine started up. We understand the mineralization, how it occurs, what units to be looking in, and what the likely orientation of the structure is. So we can put all that together and fairly easily target holes. And then based off that first round of information, we can start to get a little more precision in how we target drilling.
Okay. Well, look, I guess it's a case of, during the course of this year, you keeping us up to date with what's happening at those three projects, and how they're advancing, because it's hard to put value on those things in the early stages until you see that the partners are still continuing to be involved during the, for Kerr, 5 years, and for Ally, for the next 4 years on the two US projects. So that's something I'd love to stay in touch about for sure. Then you've got a bunch of other projects in the portfolio. I don't know how far advanced they are, or how, if there's a big gap between the first three and the fourth and the rest in it. How are you moving those forward? Yeah,
you talk about the gap. The next project probably in the same realm of as Klondike and Klondike, Tim, and Stateline is our Twin Canyon project, also in southwest Colorado, and that's a gold target. It's in the same rocks as these copper targets at Stateline and Klondike, but it's just a little different style of mineralization. This is gold. It's based on an old family-run underground mines. Probably only got 150 meters of underground workings, but the placer miner who had it was just basically tunneling in. He would core a bit of the sandstone that he was tunneling into. He'd take a mortar and pestle, grind it up, and then if he saw gold in the tails there, he would mine that face. And he told us he figured he was mining about 9 grams per ton. So we're looking at that sandstone horizon as a much larger target. So we've done some soil geochemistry, outlined 3 kilometers of strike along that same sandstone horizon that we think may be a source of gold mineralization, probably lower grade. I don't think we're expecting to see 9 grams per ton over that area, but 2 to 3 grams per ton is sort of what we'd be looking at as a target throughout that sandstone package. So we're just permitting. We hope to have that permit in the next few weeks, actually, that would allow us to bring in a partner to test that sandstone horizon over a much larger area. And if our thesis is correct, we've gone from a little small family gold operation to something that has much more regional potential, because the sandstone here is quite distinctive, and we can go now and see where that sandstone exhibits the same characteristics elsewhere, and continue that exploration. So it's a really neat project from that perspective. It's a type of gold mineralization that not many groups are exploring for. It's not very well known. So the acceptance of it isn't quite there yet, but I think once we have a drill permit in hand, I think that'll really help us be able to market that project and bring somebody in to fund that next stage of exploration, which is the drilling. Okay, but you're not in conversation with anyone at the moment. You just need to kind of get over that permitting process yourself, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've got a couple of groups we've been chatting with that are kind of waiting to see that permit come through, and then I think we can open those doors more fully with them. Similar sort of structure as you've been outlining with the other three. Okay. And who's next on the horizon? I think after that, the projects drop down to much earlier stage, where we're still defining geochem targets, that sort of thing. Let's park those up because there's enough on the table here at the moment.
So that whole JV model, we've seen it elsewhere. It works as long as the drill bit keeps giving up clues as to what's going on. Should we go back to let's leave America and head back up to the Yukon, the Haldane project. This is the project this is your project, right? This is one you're in control of. So tell us a little bit about how you got it and what you're up to.
Yeah, so Haldane is a really interesting project because we call it an underexplored silver project, but it's in a 100-year-old silver district in the Keno Hill district in Yukon territory. So it's kind of, people look at me kind of funny when I say that, but it truly is underexplored. We acquired this in 2018 from a consulting group that I actually used to work with, guys at Equity Exploration, who had gone out. They had done some target generation for themselves. They would do that. They generate targets that they'd sell off to people so that they get the work to work on them. That kind of fell by the wayside. They got too busy. So I was looking at some of their internal projects. I'd always been interested in the Keno district. I've worked in the Yukon a lot. I really like working there and knew there's some great potential. But key is the fact that you're in this known district. It's got road access. You've got all the infrastructure from all the other operations going around. Our next door neighbor is Alexco, who's mining at their Keno district deposits right now. So that was really intriguing for us. So we acquired the project for I think it was 2 million shares and some work commitments, and then the idea that Equity would do the first few years of work on it. And we've been really, really happy with the progress there because it was focused on an area that had seen some exploration back in the 1920s, small scale mining, 25 tons of kind of 3,100 grams per ton silver was mined there, but very small, sort of hand cobbed, high grade operations. And at that time, you would have been 30 kilometers from the mill in the Keno district, just too far to be moving ore in the 1920s. So on the backside of a mountain, kind of tucked away from the rest of the Keno district. So the project sat, and it really sat until the 60s. And then there was a little bit more work done, again, expanded some of the underground workings. And then it sat again till the early 2000s. There was some tin exploration, gold, other stuff. But for silver, not really anything done till sort of 2007. And that's when the Equity guys got involved. They had another junior company come in. Did some drilling, really interesting results, but timing, company's focus changing, the project sat again, and that's what made it available for us in 2018. So our idea was to look at this project. We know we're in the right rocks, the basal quartzite that hosts Keno deposits. We've got a good exposure of that at Haldane. So we wanted to explore that whole package of rocks, see what other targets may be out there. We thought we could find more vein systems than what the old timers found. And we've done that. We've highlighted new anomalies from soil geochem and prospecting that have proven to be Keno style veins. And as well, we've in drilling right in sort of the same area where the old timers were working, but on separate vein systems, found brand new veins that are high grade, wide. Like these would be, Keno width and grade style silver veins that we can move forward. So been really excited. The results have been fantastic, and we've been focusing on our West Fault target as of late, where we've had some very, very good results.
Right. So you've explained how the other projects get financed. How do you finance this? Because you're kind of low on cash. You don't want to get yourself in that cash constrained position where you've got few options. So what's the model that you're going to employ here? Go out and raise some equity soon?
Yeah, that's our preference at this stage, is to go raise some equity and move this forward ourselves. That said, if we had a partner come to us with a deal we couldn't turn down, we would go that route as well. This is going to be a big project. At some point, we're going to be handing it off to somebody else. So whether that's this year or next year or the year after that, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. There's going to be a lot to build here. So I look at it from the perspective, we haven't marketed this project to partners. We've had people reach out to us, but we haven't gone out and marketed it. But So that would indicate our preferences to raise some equity to do this next year's drilling.
Okay, so what you've explained, it's a big area. You've got Alexco in the district. It all points to the right things, and they've produced a lot of silver there, and they're great grades, and you're finding grades. But what's the data set you're working from and able to utilize for the package that you've got? Because I'm intrigued by the kind of plan in terms of finding these targets, allocating drilling, and more importantly, trying to understand how much money you think you're going to need to go and raise. I come back to the 10 million market cap company. You got to be nimble and agile and do things smart. You can't go and raise a big chunk of money after this. So how do you think? What's the best way to get after this project now to kind of set yourself up for future success?
I think for us, it's really showing that there is a Keno-sized deposit sitting here. And so for me, that's looking at our West Fault target and continuing to grow that. We've had some great results there that we've been able to build out over a sort of 100 meter by 90 meter panel. The veins anywhere from 1 meter to 9 meters thick of mineralization. The vein itself is much wider than that, and we're also starting to figure out that the structure that hosts the vein will host veins in multiple levels within it. So we're actually seeing a vein will pinch out, but another one will start up, and so what that's done for us, actually, it's been kind of a revelation in that. On drilling on some of the other targets where we expected to hit a vein, but we didn't, we know now that might have been an area of transition where one vein was ending and the other was starting, and we actually drilled between them. So it's changing the way we're looking at all this. So you referenced our data set. We're very fortunate to have a lot of the underground work from the 1960s. The mapping was excellent. The data they collected was fantastic. Although we can't get into those underground adits and workings, we have a great data set that we can work off of as we plan our drilling. And then we've done, between us and previous workers since 2007, there's been 28 drill holes drilled on surface. So there's that data to match with our mapping. We've done a lot of detailed mapping through there. We're able to put all that together. And now with the last year of drilling that we did, and we really start to understand the structure better, we're now sort of getting a much better handle on how these veins and structures are behaving and how we follow them up. So that'll really help building on that West Fault target.
Okay, interesting. Like I say, today's session is about just trying to understand all the moving parts, not necessarily sort of dig in. If you come back on, we can do that for sure. So again, for audience at home, so you're going to need to raise some equity to kind of get after that West Fault. I'm thinking that's an imminent thing to do, because you kind of got to get after this over 2021 drill or spring program. Do you? I mean, what are the next steps, I guess, is what I'm asking for you.
Yeah. So we'll raise some money through the spring here, I think is the target. We'd be hoping to get out there probably a little later than we did last year, probably in June, I think is ideal timing for us. Just makes moving around on the roads just a little bit easier. The other factor that's going to play in all this is the availability of drills. So that could push us back even to a later start, which isn't a big deal for us. We drilled into December here in 2020, so we can work quite late into the season. So I'm not as concerned about when we start. It's just making sure that we have enough time to complete what we want to complete in 2022. So we're probably looking at in the neighborhood of a $2 million raise to fund what we want to do, and that would largely focus on that West Fault expansion. We've got a couple different directions, one including down dip to follow that mineralization, and just to give a flavor of what that looks like. Our initial hole at West Fault was 8.72 meters true thickness, or as best as we can define that as true thickness, of 311 grams silver. There was a percent lead and a percent zinc with that as well. And within that, there were some nice, even higher grade intersections. And we were able to follow that up with a 3-meter intersection, just over 3 meters of 1,351 grams per ton silver. So those are the kinds of grades we really like to see here. The nice high grade mineralization that they're mining at Alexco in the ground package adjacent to us, and then we do have another intersection, a meter of 1,100 grams silver. So we're seeing some high grade continuity there. We're seeing mining widths. So that's what we want to follow up on. But we're also tantalized by some of these other targets where we've got a new target we defined ourselves called Bighorn. We've got one hole into it, lower grade silver, 125 grams per ton silver over a couple meters. But if you talk to the Alexco exploration team, they tell you if you have the right silver minerals in the right style of vein, you have to follow that up, because that can very quickly become a lower grade narrow intersection and become a high grade very wide intersection very quickly. And that's just the nature of these targets. So when you're onto those, you got to follow them up. So that tantalizes us as well.
Okay, so again, one that we can follow your successes on. With regards to the share register, I mean, what's the makeup of that? Is it predominantly retail?
It's kind of a good mix. We've got about our largest shareholder is Pacific Opportunity Capital. They've got about 15% of the company. That includes my chairman, Mark Brown, his holdings. So that's his group. I share offices with them. I'm Mark's office is 2 doors down from mine. So that's we're very close to them, obviously, and they are a big help running the back end, the regulatory, looking after the AP and all that kind of stuff, so I can focus more on geology. So it's a great relationship there. And then the rest of the float, it's 30% retail. There's probably about 25% funds in there. And then when you divide it all up, it's kind of fairly evenly balanced, but retail would probably be the biggest portion of that for sure.
What are 25% funds? What sort of funds are these? I mean, the smaller funds, I'm guessing, but why are they in there?
It's a combination of our biggest fund shareholder is a group called Frucht Express out of Austria. They are a 10% shareholder. They file insider reports, and they started acquiring Alianza in the market because of us acquiring the Haldane project. They really liked silver, and they saw that, and they started acquiring the shares in the market. And we noticed that there had been this buying. We didn't know where it was coming from, and one day we got a call from a guy who says he's a shareholder. And as we got to know him, we realized he was the new buyer in the market. And when we asked why this all came about, it was Haldane. That was what brought them in. So Haldane's probably been the biggest draw for some of these funds to come in. We've done some flow through funds investing into the company, and they're looking at that flow through dollar goes to fund Haldane drilling. So they're getting involved for that project. So that's it. You can boil it all back down to Haldane, really.
Okay. And so you've been here since 2015, have you?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And are you invested in the company as well?
Yep. Yeah. My wife and I, for sure.
Shareholders. Yeah. Glad to hear it. Okay. Well, I tell you what, as I kind of first run through that's fine. You've helped me understand all the moving parts, which is always the tough bit when you kind of got a prospect generator explorer with a big portfolio, trying to work out what I should be looking at. But so Haldane is the thing I should be looking at, but not to discount Klondike, Stateline, and the Allied Copper relationship, plus Kerr Mining's tin project too. Thank you very much for your time today. Stay in touch. Let us know how you get on. If there's anything that you think we need to know, do jump back on. We're trying to discover the next big thing. So it'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for having me on. It's been lots of fun. So yeah, certainly we'll have an opportunity for an update as the drill programs ramp up here in a few months.